Hey Counter Slammers, welcome to yet another model review. Today I actually want to review a model that I got a chance to pick up at Lock and Load 2016, and I'm super excited about it. And I'm gonna talk to you about my experiences with it and everything like that. And that is the Hellmouth. So with the Hellmouth, I gotta tell you guys, it is a ridiculously great model. I'm gonna tell you that right off the bat. It's a unit, and you should get two if you play Legion, and never look back, because I'm having trouble finding lists not to put these guys in. So the Hellmouth is a unit, so it can be affected by spells and things like that that affect units. So things like they give armor buffs or defense buffs or strength buffs and things like that to units. It can work for this. So the Hellmouth is a scary model. It's the Hellmouth itself. The maw is on a large base, and the tentacles are on medium-sized bases. And we'll get into its other abilities here in a second. But it's got the Hellmouth itself, the big mouth thing coming out of the ground, is a Strength 10, Mat 6, Defense 10, and Armor 18, which sounds pretty good, and has 8 hitboxes. It's also the commander of the unit, so the tentacles can make charged attacks and things like that. So the maw itself has a range of 2 and is a power strength of 15, so it can hit fairly decently hard. The tentacles are speed 5, strength 6, mat 6, defense 10, armor 15 with pathfinder, so they can move freely about on rough terrain. The tentacles themselves are also range 2 on their attacks, and their power and strength of 10, so a little bit weaker than the mouth, but obviously you can tell because the mouth is big and nasty and scary. So the FA on the Hellmouth is 2, and I'm hoping that in tier lists, there'll be some way to increase that. That'd be just disgusting. But for the Hellmouth and 3 tentacles, it's only 6 points. So in a game where things are costing double and things like that, essentially, if you think about it in Mark II terms, this would have been a 3-point model. So roughly, maybe 3 or 4 points. But anyway, but 6 points is a steal for these things. And you get, like I said, putting 2 in a list for 12 points is just ridiculous. So the Hellmouth itself, we'll talk about its abilities. It's buried, so it means this model has no normal movement, cannot become knocked down, and cannot be moved or placed, so it just ain't going nowhere. It has circular vision. Models never gain backstrike bonuses against that model. It has distant deployment. It says this model can be placed at the same time as your models with advanced deployment, up to 12 inches beyond your deployment zone. So if you deploy 7 inches, you get 19 inches. If it's 10 inches, it's 22 inches up the board. And so it's right up there. And so for depending on the zones and scenarios that you're going for, this thing can be deployed pretty close, if not into various zones, which is ridiculous. It has impervious flesh, which did change a little bit in Mark III. It says when this model suffers damage, roll 1 fewer die. So anytime you would roll a damage roll, whether it be on fire, from an attack, anything, ranged attack, melee attack, magic attack, you roll 1 less dice, which makes the Hellmouth itself very, very survivable. With 8 hitboxes and armor 18, it's pretty gross. It's also inscrutable. Opponents can take control of this model, so it doesn't really have a mind to take control. It's very similar to the Afflictor in Legion. And it has the Tendrils ability that says that if any time at the beginning of your turn, if you don't have 3 tentacles in play, you can place 1 into play. And it just has to be in command. So it's kind of nice. So let's say your opponent kills one top of turn 1, right? During your turn, you get to place it. You can place it 8 inches up the board, and then it's got a 2-inch reach. So it has a 10-inch threat range from there. But you can also use it to and depending on how close the models are, you can actually place it into their back arc, which is really cool. So the maw itself, the bite attack of the mouth coming out of the ground, the Hellmouth, is it has consume. So small base models, non-warcaster models obviously, are removed from play when it just has to hit. It doesn't have to be crit consume, it just consumes. Very similar to the Archangel. It also has rear attack. It says when declaring attacks with weapon, model can target models in its back arc. So essentially has a 360-degree arc. The tentacle also has distant deployment. It also has impervious flesh, and also has inscrutable, so it can't be taken control of. And the tentacle strike itself, its weapon has the ability to grip, which means what it can do is when the tentacles hit a model, you can choose to have the tentacle go away, and then the model that it hits is dragged directly towards the mouth. Now, let's say you're hitting something with high armor, but it's a small base model. You can hit it, and even if you don't do damage, you can drag it to the mouth. And as soon as the model comes within striking range of the mouth gets to make a free attack. So, if you push something, a small base to it, and then the mouth gets to attack, if he hits it, he just eats it. Now, this is a great play for against heavies. It's a great play against medium-sized bases like warjacks and war beasts for your in your army, because what happens is you hit the enemy models and you drag them to the mouth. Now they're a lot closer. They can be, this thing can reach 10 inches away from the Hellmouth, actually maybe even a little farther than that, and it hits and it can drag it to it. So you're getting an extra 10-inch threat range with models behind it. So in a particular game that I played, I was able to drag, for example, like one of the Eridus Sentinels that I was playing against Scorn, and hit it and drag it to the mouth, and then I had my Zuriel go up and charge it and attack it and kill it. And I was still way out of threat range from the rest of the Scorn army, which was great. So there are a lot of bonuses to taking this thing. Opponents... What I found at Lock and Load is a lot of people just didn't know what to take against it. They weren't sure how to beat it, and having 2 on the table is pretty ridiculous. And it's easy if it's deployed off to the side. If someone wants to, they can go around it. But if you have like 2 that are deployed fairly similar in the center, and they have to go around a bunch of tentacles, like they have to deal with it. And having the impervious flesh makes these things super survivable. Now the arms and tentacles, if they take an auto point, they just die, and then you get to put one back in next turn. But now you place the tentacles into play at the beginning of this model's activation. Technically, right now there's no rule to say you can't do this, but you could theoretically shoot it with, like, say, a Strider Deathstalker. You could hit a tentacle, kill it, because it's only defense 10, and then activate the Hellmouth and then place it 8 inches up the board, behind enemy lines and things like that, or just to screw with your enemy. So there's technically a way you can still do this, at least until Privateer Press clarifies otherwise. So a lot of shenanigans with the Hellmouth right now. It's a great distraction piece. It frustrates the crap out of people, and honestly, I'm not too sad about that, because given what a lot of the armies can do in Mark III, Legion, I think, was sort of looking for some love, and that sounds wrong with tentacle love, but you've got the Hellmouth who is definitely just a staple piece in the faction now. I'm telling you guys are gonna get this. You're gonna love it. It is ridiculously fun to play. It makes Legion fun to play, just the Hellmouth alone. So I'm gonna put my stamp of approval on it. Seriously, get 2 of these things. They're stupid good. And so with that, I'm going to go and end this particular model review. We've got other model reviews coming from other models that we picked up at the pre-released at Lock and Load. So we look forward to bringing you guys that, plus the new faction focuses. And so stay tuned, guys, and we'll keep you posted on those things. And with that, we will see you guys on the next episode of Counterslam.